Hello everyone, this is Zikiziel, and I'll be reacting to the 5-ish minute lore, episode 4, Sigismund. This one was recommended to me by Omerbrax05, so I'll be looking through it. I haven't actually watched any of these 5-minute lore videos before, and Sigismund actually happens to be one of the, quite honestly, many holes in my knowledge of 40k, since my knowledge of it tends to be kind of all over the place. I know things spread all over.
General Medicaid warning. The views expressed in 5-ish minute lore, the lore delivered in rants, are sanctioned by their scholar Progenium as excess rageous. Prolonged exposure can result in loss of IQ, high blood pressure, random outbursts, and blunt force trauma to the skull, resulting in unconsciousness. Please consult your local physician for more information.
Sigismund, the First Templar. The man so deeply embedded in the ways of sheer chaddery that he managed to badass his way back into Daddy's good graces when he was super ultra disowned by him.
Yes. This isn't going to be a rant video. This is resounding praise of the absolute unit of a space marine that is Sigismund.
Well, I am already excited to see where this goes, given that the Imperial Fists are involved, and they are one of my favorite chapters.
Where do I even start? I mean, seriously, how can I even start with this magnificent bastard? His name comes from the sound his doctor made on the day of his birth, after the doctor slapped him and the newborn Sigismund crushed his larynx from the affront to his pride. Life is multiple choice, and Sigismund not only got straight A's, but he chose violence every time. You know someone is built differently when you hear a Primarch refer to them as death itself. He was Dorn's right-hand man during the Great Crusade and is known for 3 things. 1, being almost supernatural in combat. 2, being so zealous to the crusade it bordered on a religion in its own right. And 3, always checking the box for homicide when it came to dealing with the enemies of man. Horus was jealous of him because not only did Sigismund do the whole bald is beautiful routine before Horus did, he just did it better. He was in charge of the first company of the Fists, known as the Templars, and was bro-tier with Karn before he became the Betrayer due to them hanging out and beating up World Eaters when he was assigned to go murdering people with them, and becoming known as the Black Knight. This is
beating up the World Eaters. Now that says a lot, considering, well, you know, how the World Eaters are. Especially after they fell to Chaos, but, well, I know this is before, pre-Chaos, before they became Coronate Berserkers, but still.
This is where he picked up the habit of wrapping chains around his fist and the handle of his weapon. When the Heresy kicked off, Sigismund was one of the first outside of Isfahan to figure out that shit just got real. And the first Imperial Saint Euphrates Keeler told him he'd have to make a choice. He could take war without him by doing his duty, or not do his duty and die unremembered. But if he picked the second, his Primarch would need him but not have him at a crucial hour. Spoiler alert, he checked the box for war and stuck to Dorn like glue. Dorn wasn't sure why because hell, it's Sigismund. He had just offered Sigismund the chance to go kill anything he could find, and his Templar first captain said, "Nah, it'll be fine." But then Sigismund told him he made the decision to stay by his dad because some hot blonde told him to do so. Dorn instantly disowned his ass, called him a dipshit, and then sent him to Mars to Ocean 11 in a ton of armor, which he then did. When he got back to Terra, Dorn confused the hell out of him by singling him out to make him into the Emperor's champion. At that point, Sigismund went from insane to, well...
So he went from you are being disowned, and for turning down on killing things, and then when he comes back, it's like, congratulations, you're now the Emperor's champion. It's like, I imagine that must have thrown him for a loop.
After being named the Emperor's champion, Sigismund had a choice of exactly how to be the Emperor's champion, and he
lead by example, all piety all the time, kill everything with a pulse. You know, that just sounds like the loyalist version of being a Coronate Berserker.
He chose homicide. After dressing in all black and being turned into 30K's version of the goddamn Batman with a black sword, a two-handed blade of unknown origin, Sigismund turned the entirety of the rest of the Siege of Terra into a series of fights where the goal was to viciously murder whoever won their Legion's popularity contest. Finding those targets generally wasn't that hard since he just made it a personal habit to show up and start butchering whoever stood between him and whoever was monologuing at the time. At any point in time, Sigismund saw
murder whoever was monologuing. That sounds like it would have brought him in direct conflict with Fulgrim, were it not for that Fulgrim was at that point already fighting Rogel Dorn. Given Fulgrim's penchant for shouting his accomplishments from the high towers and whatnot.
Someone who could get voted prom king or talking shit, he put them on the top of the list to get vibe checked or removed from active service. Even Fulgrim caught the hands. When the Saturnine Wall was being sieged, Fulgrim cornered an Imperial Fist captain who was having the worst first day on the job ever. He was monologuing and talking shit until Sigismund saw what was going on, did some mental math, checked D for disrespect, and promptly embarrassed Fulgrim by giving him a slick haircut and a few scars the Primarch still doesn't want to talk about. What's worse for Fulgrim is this
Speak of the devil,
happened right in front of Dorn. Fulgrim got out of his own shock at being vibe checked that hard by something a third his size and got ready to try and kill Sigismund. That's when Dorn stepped in. Apparently the kill them while they monologue thing is a gene trait of the Fist, like poetry is to the Raven Guard and hugs are to the Salamanders. Fulgrim started monologuing and only stopped when Dorn decided to punch him in the face. Dorn curb stomped Fulgrim until Fulgrim decided he was simply tired of getting his ass whipped and promptly pulled the ripcord on being on Terra and bitched out, running away. Dorn and Sigismund celebrated by butchering 56 of the best fighters the Emperor's children have left, with Sigismund yeeting Fulgrim's favorite boy off a cliff for his time. The kill the monologuing strat only failed one time, and that was against Karn, but Karn doesn't really monologue, he just grunts and screams. And he was the only one to actually win against Sigismund during the Siege of Terra, but by that point Karn was basically Khorne in Space Marine form, and Sigismund had not yet gone Super Saiyan God Space Marine yet. When the Horus Heresy
Super Saiyan God Space Marine. And considering the things that Space Marines sometimes accomplish while just screaming about purging the unclean and stuff like that. that one joke about the barbarian in D&D who just screams at everything while swinging a weapon at them. Yeah, definitely sounding like the loyalist equivalent of a Khorne Berserker at this point.
ended, there was only one Space Marine Siggy wanted to see, Abaddon the Despoiler. But he wouldn't see Abaddon
Failbadon the Armless.
again until he was nearly 1,000 years old. After Horus got deleted and the Emperor became a paraplegic, and the Iron Cage, Sigismund became the first High Marshal of the Black Templars. Instantly, he decided the best way to be the High Marshal of the Black Templars was extreme violence and brutal murder of anyone or anything that wasn't human or didn't love the Emperor. Finally, after 500 years of checking underneath his bed for Sigismund, Abaddon nutted up and left the Eye of Terror, and the only force ready to clap traitor cheeks was Sigismund's Black Templars. At this point, Sigismund was nearly 1,000 years old and has spent his elder years curb-stomping anyone and everything with an opinion. When Abaddon and Sigismund finally met, Abaddon tried his best to monologue his way to victory until Sigismund let him know that no matter how much he talked, he was still getting the hands. Abaddon and Sigismund squared off, and even though Sigismund was over 1,000 years old, he still fought Abaddon to a stalemate. If the fight went on much longer, Sigismund knew he would be beaten, but Papa Dorn didn't raise no bitch. Sigismund took the...
You know, that says a lot considering that supposedly Abaddon is empowered by all four of the Chaos Gods, while simultaneously also not really serving them. It's weird. Him claiming that he simply uses Chaos and does not serve it.
Two-handed black sword and put it through Abaddon's chest, taking the hit from Abaddon to almost cut him in half. Let me say that again. Sigismund did everything he could to kill Abaddon, knowing he would die in return. That's how dedicated Sigismund was to killing traitors. This guy was just built different. Abaddon survived only due to intense warp shenanigans, and he tried to be respectful, telling Sigismund it's time to sleep. Abaddon was ready for something poetic or some final praise to the Emperor. But no, like I said, Papa Dorn didn't raise no bitch. Sigismund spit his final words through a mouthful of blood, and what he said gave Abaddon such serious emotional damage it took him over 9,000 years to get over the emotional trauma and do something worthwhile again.
You'll die as your weakling father died. Soulless, honorless, weeping, ashamed.
They ask you how you are.
Oh boy, that definitely must have hit him hard, knowing how much Abaddon despises Horus for the failure that was the Heresy.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Sigismund's body was sent back to Terra with full honors, probably because Abaddon was worried that if Sigismund's body was disrespected that the Black Templar would come back to haunt him. The entire incident messed Abaddon up so much that to even remember it gives him the 1,000-yard stare and the sweats. He even made sure that Sigismund's personal blade got handed to a surviving Black Templar for safekeeping, just in case keeping the blade disrespected the memory of Sigismund. That's all you need to know about Sigismund, the first Black Templar. All hail the High Marshal, the Imperial Fist, the Black...
You know, that explains a lot then about why the Black Templars can be summed up with basically, when I'm purging.
Knight, hail the first Templar.
Yeah, that was a fun watch. But I highly recommend, and that anyone who hasn't seen this already and isn't already following Old Man, that they do so. And as always, a link to the original video and to the creator's channel will be in the description below. Have a nice day. Hey, this is Zekiziel signing off. And as always, I appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe.